My name is Naraine. I'm a security evangelist at Kaspersky Lab and one of the editor-in-chief at threatpost.com, which is Kaspersky's security news service. We write and report on security threats and trends. And
so Ryan, tell me a little bit about your view of the cybersecurity landscape as it stands right now.
Well, there's multiple components to what we call the cybersecurity landscape. There's a whole consumer ecosystem where end users are just bombarded by malware attacks that are financially motivated, that are mostly there to conduct identity theft type attacks, attacks stealing, banking usernames and passwords and using those to just pilfer money out of bank accounts. So that's a consumer issue and a consumer problem. Then there are the bank Trojans for small and medium-sized businesses and even larger enterprises that deal with banker malware, malware that actually get on an enterprise system and basically raid the bank account using an ecosystem of money mules and all kinds of really sophisticated things, mostly operating out of Eastern Europe. So there's that component to it. Then, of course, there's compliance and regulations, and there's everyone trying to figure out what the cloud is, how to use the clouds in a secure way. So, I mean, here at RSA, for instance, we're just trying to get a grip of exactly where we are in the ecosystem. And on top of that, there's a whole government-to-government cybersecurity espionage. We had the Google attacks lately, the Aurora thing with Google and about 30 other U.S. companies. So there's that whole other level of cybersecurity that, so there are multiple components to it. And trying to track it is entirely difficult. But I think you can segment cybersecurity into certain pockets and track it that way versus trying to, look at it holistically, because it's fairly it's useless to do it that way, and it's unimportant too. So,
from a national security standpoint, where are we? Are we at with that? And do you think it was a good thing that Czar was appointed as cybersecurity czar? What's your opinion on that?
Well, we've been talking about having a cybersecurity czar forever. I mean, he's been there before, and there's been attempts previously to get some sort of governmental, what I like to call governmental momentum around tackling the cybersecurity issue. And I worry that, I was really excited that Obama actually dedicated a speech to cybersecurity. I don't think a president in the history of the U.S., a president had ever used the word botnet before Obama did this year. So there was real excitement and energy around cybersecurity at the government level. The problem is that energy kind of ebbs and flows, and there's more ebb than flow. And we've had these cybersecurity czars come and go because everyone's jostling for power and positioning in Washington. And the problem is there's no real way to get government and the private sector to coordinate and do things at a meaningful way. So it just becomes meaningless, and then it becomes guys struggling to get increases in budgets, and it becomes more political than real and meaningful. And the problem is that, like I said, there's too much ebb and not enough flow, and then it never becomes really meaningful. So I'm pessimistic about it being a real energized effort to deal with the cybersecurity problem. But I'll say that I don't think they can ignore it for much longer, because you can feel like a certain boil happening. You can just feel a boil. You walk around the show floor and you talk to people, and you can where state level type of cyber espionage is happening, and you can feel something bubbling to the surface. And I'm hoping that this year you start to really get some energy and effort around it.
If government could do one thing to really improve, particularly the private-public partnerships, what would that be?
One thing. He'll get private sector energy. I think the most important thing is to get the private sector energized about information sharing, about getting data and using data in a meaningful way. And the problem is, they come at RSA here every year, or Schmidt will go to a conference and talk about the importance of public sector and private sector partnership. And then he'll say it again next year, and he'll say it again in 2010, and 2015 he'll say it again, and we know it's important, okay, we get it. Why isn't it happening? And it isn't happening because it's very, very difficult for governments to energize the private sector to be involved. So I think the most important thing is to get some sort of momentum and energy from the private sector. How he does that is, I think it's a miracle to really get it done. But, like I said, it's really, really important that it happens because there's this boil happening, and I don't know if we'll see it this year or next year, but I think. And the other thing is, I was hoping for someone else, to be honest, just because it's been a name and a guy who's been there, and I was hoping you would get a new name, a new face, a new feel, a new energy, and I feel like I'm not no knock on Schmidt, who's thoroughly competent and knows his stuff, but I just feel like we've been down that road before, and maybe it would have been nice to have a change.